everyone, it's Bethany, and I am so excited to get back into some back to school type stuff. We've had a packed summer, and so I really missed doing this the last few weeks. So today I'm going to talk about homeschooling, kindergarten / preschool. So let's get to it. Okay, so the most important thing that I have found is my planner. And I am somebody who is incredibly unorganized. It's pretty awful. And so finding a planner, a sort of system that works for you is going to be key, even when you're working with some of the little guys, because it kind of helps you not so much plan out what you're going to be doing, but it helps you kind of see where you're spending a lot of time and maybe some areas that you can kind of work on. So for example, if you're spending a lot of time doing like letter sounds and whatnot, then it'll kind of keep you accountable to start diving into some of those numbers and things. So my planner is by Recollections, and it's from Michael's. If you're familiar with the Erin Condren, I basically consider it like the cheaper version of that. It doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles, but it's super easy to use. I'll kind of show you how I set mine up. So my daughter is Shiloh right here. And so what I do is I put language and then math. So under language, those are our tracing and our phonics. And then math, we have our Horizons book and our bottle cap bingo. And I'll kind of go into the things that we use. When you're homeschooling kindergarten and preschool, you really just want to focus on the basics, because this is a time when you are going to be exploring tons of things. I went to a homeschool conference a couple years ago where they talked about the wonder of brand new. And I think that is so important to remember. Everything is new to your kids. Texture, sounds, smells, why something does what it does. And so when you're getting into kindergarten and preschool, it's super exciting to want to dive into the books and dive into their curriculum. But something that I have learned is that kids aren't necessarily, they're not ready for an 8 to 5. I mean, I don't even do an 8 to 5 school schedule as far as just sitting down and do books all day. At this age, it's a lot of exploration, but once they hit about 4 or 5 years old, that is a great time to start easing into things like reading, writing, and arithmetic, math. So let's talk about how we do that. I want to talk first about language, because I think phonics is one of those things that our modern educational system is definitely lacking in. There's a book called Uncovering the Logic of English, which is written by Denise Ide, who I actually interviewed her, and I need to get that interview up because it is so mind-blowing. But she has a curriculum that is of the same name, and it's right here, The Logic of English. And what I love about it is that when you go to purchase your basic phonics stuff, your flashcards and whatnot, it's gonna be typical. A says ah, B says ba, C says k. But actually, the truth is that, I'll give you an example here why I love this program. A actually makes 3 sounds, a, ah. So from the beginning, what I didn't do with my son when I first started homeschooling and then I switched, from the beginning, we teach our children all of the sounds. Because what happens when you've taught your child A says ah, and then you come to grape? Well, the A is long in that word. And so this is called Doodling Dragons, and it is basically, and it goes all the way up to multiple letter phonograms. But this is the first one, so it starts with single letters, except for Q, because Q is actually QU in the English language. So you've got the 3 sounds here, and then it shows you some stories. So A says ah, a, ah, and then it has on this side, it has stories, apples and ants. Those are the short. Snakes ate grapes. Those are the long. Wash the walls. It allows you to, from the beginning, start building that foundation of what all the letters actually say. And that is a big issue that we have in our modern education system, is that children do not know how to decode words. They don't know that PH says f. They just know that looking at the word PHONE says phone, because we're learning sight words instead of phonics. So if you're wanting to dive into education, I strongly recommend first picking up yourself a copy of Uncovering the Logic of English. And secondly, you don't have to use that curriculum, but definitely dive into doing full phonics. So what I like to do is I printed off this alphabet chart. I believe this is one that I just typed up myself. And I purchased a pointer. You can get any pointer, Dollar Tree, online, whatever, but something kind of fun. This one is from Learning Resources, and I love all their stuff. But I just have my daughter shall go a, b, k, s, d, e, f, and so on. Another thing that I would do with phonics, let me see if I grabbed it here. I have flashcards basically. So each card, whether it's one that I purchased, whether it's one that I've printed and laminated, we'll just go through the flashcards. And honestly, if you give yourself 5 minutes, start with 2 minutes, work your way up. If you do this every day, which is what I've been doing with my kids, you will be amazed at what they can retain, because children's memory at this age is phenomenal. And I'm a classically minded home educator, so I really focus on that rote memory, just repeat so it gets in their heads, and it is phenomenal what kids can memorize. So if you take this time now to just talk about things and explore things with them, they're just gonna soak it up like a sponge. So that's the first thing we do, is we work on phonics. And again, this is preschool age, so 3 to 5. That's something we do. I do the same thing with numbers. So I printed out a number chart. This is 1 through 20, but I also have here on the other side of this one, I just wrote with Sharpie 0 through 10. So we'll do the same thing. We'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll just count every day. We'll go through this, and then around 5 or 6, then we'll start working on the, counting to 20. I'll expose her to counting up to 20 also at 4s and 5s, but you just want to kind of get them going to understand numbers. And while we're exploring numbers, we'll use manipulatives like beans or rocks or crayons or anything to count something that they can hold and touch and count, so they can visually see what that looks like. The thing that I really love to do, which I got this idea from JDA, phenomenal homeschool mom on YouTube, is what she calls bottle cap bingo. So basically, you just take old bottle caps, and you can use whatever, but bottle caps I feel like are something fun for kids to hold. And you write down the number. So this one's 17, this one is 4, and I actually did it so that all the green caps were 0 through 10, and then all the white caps are 11 through 20. But you would take these bottle caps and we just go through it once, and that's my daughter's numbers for the time we're doing table work when we sit down. So she'll take a 3, okay, and then she'll just place it here. And then once the entire board is filled up, whether it's to the 20s or to the 10s, then we'll take them off one at a time. And as we're taking them off one at a time, not only is she practicing self-control to not take them all off at the same time, she's practicing following directions, dexterity, just picking up the item. She's good at that. But when we started it was an experience to try to pick it up and count at the same time. And that is something that I would also remind parents who are teaching kindergartners and preschoolers. We as adults are so used to the fact that when we look at this, like if I was to hold this and say this is a 3, I'm not only processing what color it is, what number it is, what this feels like, being able to actually pick it up. There are so many different things that are going on. And so I would really encourage you, when you're working with preschoolers and kindergartners, to just take it slow and realize that everything they're doing, there are multiple processes going on. And that is where some kids can sometimes get really overwhelmed. So take it slow, gently expose them to things, and you will be well on your way. The thing I love about Logic of English flashcards is that there's Y on this side, and then on the back it has pronunciation, ya, I, E, and then words, yard, gym, buy, baby. So Logic of English flashcards are great. Again, you don't have to use their program. There are lots of great programs out there, but the resources that Logic of English has created is awesome. So the next thing I like to do is I love these wipe clean pretty books. These are awesome. Walmart, Amazon, of course, Christian Book, Target, Sam's Club. The reason why I really like this one is that my daughter took a little bit more time to be able to write, to trace and whatnot. And I love that in this particular one, Dot to Dot for Tiny Tots, is that the pictures are big and they're not too complicated. There were some, you know, we started trying to trace letters and it was just too much. And that's a whole nother thing, starting, you know, manuscript versus cursive. And I'll talk about it another time. But I love how big in this one, how big the images are, you know, and how clear they are. It's nothing too crazy. These are puzzles. I think you have to draw a line or something to match the fish. And so for my daughter, you know, draw a line to the scoops of ice cream. It's just visually, it's not too difficult. Like this one, you know, not only are you kind of learning a circle, but then you have this little hump here, you know. So this is the Dot to Dot Wipe Clean book. And I am a huge fan of dry erase because I print a lot of stuff. And so I don't need more paper than I'm already printing. So Wipe Clean books, there's tons of free printables you can do, but I would definitely, with tracing, encourage you to use a Wipe Clean because you're just gonna be wiping and doing it all over and over. Okay, so getting into math, I like two different types of books. Spectrum Math, which is about $11.99 on here. I think I got it at Barnes & Noble for like $9. And then Horizons Math. We are going to be switching to Saxon. This is a great place to start. It's affordable. It's not overwhelming in color, which I really like. Let's see if I can. Answers all in the back, but it's pretty simple stuff. You know, just your basic math and counting. It does move a little fast, I feel like, just as far as exposing you to lots of ways of learning math, you know, moving from money to addition, subtraction, whatnot, which was great for my son, not as great for my daughter. It also has your Common Core 10 frame, I believe is what it's called, instead of the dice counting, which would be a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle. What I've seen in Common Core a lot of times is the 10 frame. So like 5 in a row here, 5 in a row. I personally think the dice way is a lot more visually easy, but that's just one little thing. But yeah, Spectrum Math is a great place for me to find out, okay, does my child really latch onto math and they can learn these new concepts faster, or do we need something a little bit more thorough? Now with all my kids, I pretty much think we're gonna be like Homeschool 101 and jump into Saxon Math because it is really thorough. Talking about Horizons, this is what I'm going through with my daughter right now who's in kindergarten. And I love Horizons, guys. I really do. I love, it's not overwhelming. It's the spacing, the font, the colors. These are just great books. I love Horizons. They're about $30 just for this book. You can also get a teacher's guide and supplemental worksheets. I love Horizons, but what I'm finding, especially with my son who's in 2nd grade, is that it also moves faster, which is great for him, but on the downside is it's not as thorough. So it's not going to teach you proper terms like the sum of something or exactly what are the different shapes. It teaches you shapes, but the really basic shapes. And now that I'm doing Saxon with my 2nd grader, I'm seeing where this could have been more beefy. There is a teacher's guide that tells you kind of, you know, some ideas on what you can talk about, but it's just not as thorough. So we are going to be transitioning to Saxon, but Horizons is a great place to start for math. Last but not least, Daily Learning Notebook. It came from confessionsofahomeschooler.com. And I love what they had, but it was too overwhelming for my kids and for me. So we actually purchased, and if I can remember, Treehouse Schoolhouse has these daily learning things. Let me see if I can get in here. And we go through the calendar, and then we go through what the temperature is for the day. So we have our daily binder time, which is during our morning time, and my kindergartner is now able to really sit down and kind of do that with us. And I have a whole nother video that I will try to link up here, down here, somewhere, that you can kind of see what we do with our morning time activities. But now that my daughter is starting to do a lot more seat work, table work, what I do is I will take out the worksheets from all of her textbooks and I will place them here per day, because my goal is that my kids, by the time they're in 5th grade, they're fairly independent in their schoolwork, where they can crack open a book, get into their homeschool, and then I can just kind of check in on them, answer questions. But my goal is that they're very independent by 5th grade. Is that going to happen? I don't know, because I'm a first generation homeschooler myself. But I'm hopeful for that, and I know a lot of parents have done that. So one of the ways that we're learning independence is by just having the day, putting the worksheet in that section. So this is Monday and I haven't filled in the binder yet for the week, but then we'll just open it up. Now, of course, she can't open and go herself because she's only 4 and 5 and she's only almost 5 and she can't read. But this year we'll do this. Next year, she'll get a little bit more independent, and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe for more videos if you're interested. I am so stoked for this new school year. It's gonna be about, I think, our 3rd year, 3rd, 4th-ish year going into homeschooling, and every year I learn something different. So thanks for sticking around, guys, and until next time, bye.